You'd think a man my age would forget things, names, dates, birthdays. They slip away like water through fingers. But some memories, they burn themselves into your bones. People think the worst nights of the war were on the ground, but they're wrong. Some of the worst came from above. I'm talking about that night in '44, the night the sky turned black and orange, the night the air itself screamed, the night we learned just how small men can feel when hell falls from the heavens. We called it Black Lantern Night. The Germans had another name for it, but to me, it was the night I thought I would die without ever touching the ground again. It was 2 weeks after Raven Bridge. We had lost good men there. Captain Miller. Jean almost died. Thomas hadn't spoken for days. We were sent north, deeper into France, to support the British paratroopers holding a key position near the village of Montreval. We weren't supposed to see combat, just support, secure roads, help civilians evacuate. Simple enough. But war doesn't give a damn about simple. When we reached the outskirts of Montreval, we saw smoke rising in columns, like giant pillars holding up the sky. The village was burning, civilians running, animals screaming, artillery thunder shaking the air. And then we heard it, distant at first, like hungry insects, but growing louder. Planes, German bombers, a whole squadron. Thomas whispered, "Dear God, they're coming back for another run." And Brown, who never prayed, whispered, "We need cover, now." But there was none. Open fields, burning houses, roads jammed with wagons and families. We were exposed, but orders were orders. We had to reach the center of the village and help the British hold the line. We moved. We shouldn't have. But we did. We reached the first stone building when the sound hit full force. A hurricane of engines, dozens of them. I craned my neck, and there it was, a nightmare blotting out the stars. A formation of German Junkers bombers and Stuka dive bombers descending through the clouds like a swarm of mechanical locusts. The moonlight glinted off their metal bodies. And then came the sirens. The infamous Stuka dive scream, a sound you can't forget, a sound that rips through muscle and settles deep inside your spine. The British lieutenant shouted, "Get to cover! Move! Move!" But there wasn't enough cover for everyone. Mothers held children. Old men stumbled. British soldiers tried to pull civilians into cellars. I ran behind a broken stone wall just as the first bombs fell. The earth jumped, the sky flashed, a heat wave slapped me across the face. Debris rained down like thunder. Jean, who had somehow stuck with us, dove next to me, panting. "They are going to flatten the whole damn village," I yelled back. They already started. Another explosion shook the ground, throwing dust into the air. And then we heard something worse than bombs. Boots, German infantry, moving in with the bombing runs, a coordinated slaughter. We couldn't run. Behind us were families, children, trapped near the church. If we retreated, they'd be butchered. Miller wasn't with us anymore, but his voice echoed in my head. "You hold the line as long as you can." So we did. Thomas fired first, dropping a German officer. Brown grabbed a British Bren gun and raked the stone wall where enemy soldiers appeared. Jean pulled a crying girl behind cover as bullets chipped stone above his head. I saw a woman fall. A man try to shield his son with his own body. Smoke turning everything gray. Bombs kept falling. German infantry kept advancing. We were fighting hell on the ground while hell fell from the sky. Then, something strange happened. A British paratrooper, young, maybe 19, sprinted past us carrying a wounded comrade on his back. A bomber overhead released another bomb. It fell fast, too fast. He looked up, and instead of running, he turned and shielded the wounded man with his own body. The bomb hit 20 feet away. The shockwave threw us all backward. I hit the ground hard. When the dust settled, the young British soldier was gone, but the wounded man under him was still alive. Thomas whispered, He saved him. And that was the moment something snapped inside us. Fear burned away. Anger took its place. We weren't just fighting to hold a line. We were fighting for that young man, for the civilians behind us, for everyone the sky tried to take. Miller would have understood. Jean shouted, "We push them back, now!" And for once, we listened to the Frenchmen without question. We counterattacked in the middle of a bombing run, smoke everywhere, ash falling like snow, planes screaming overhead. Thomas fired with cold precision. Brown kept the Bren gun singing. Jean dashed between rubble piles, throwing grenades with fury I'd never seen. I took a position behind a shattered fountain and laid down fire. We pushed them to the edge of the village, step by step, shooting, reloading, breathing fire and smoke. Then we heard a whistle, the British signal. Reinforcements. Paratroopers emerged from the ruins, shouting, firing, joining our line. Together we shoved the Germans back, and slowly, painfully. The bombing stopped. The sky was silent again, but not peaceful, never peaceful, just empty. And we were still alive. When it was finally over, the village looked dead. Houses burned, animals wandered aimlessly, children cried, old men sat in silence. The British commander approached us, covered in blood and soot. He said, "You Yanks saved more people tonight than you'll ever know." But we didn't feel like heroes. Thomas stared at the crater where the young paratrooper died. Brown sat alone, clutching the Bren gun like a lifeline. Jean looked up at the sky, whispering something in French I didn't understand. And me? I just listened to the silence that comes only after the sky stops falling. People ask me, what was the scariest moment of the war? They expect me to say a firefight, a sniper, some mission behind enemy lines. But no, the scariest moment was the night the sky itself tried to kill us. The night men became shadows, villages became graves, and bravery looked like a 19-year-old boy throwing himself over a wounded friend. That's the night I'll never forget, the night we lost the sky, but didn't lose each other.